Peace be upon you. Good evening, everybody. How are you today? I hope you are okay. Today we will continue.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
I'm fine. What about you?
Praise be to Allah. Alhamdulillah. We will start to make use of time. I think we reached to the fifth definition of language. We are making survey of many different definitions of language in order to know what is language and what is the core of linguistics, and how to acquire language and how to define language in order to deal with it. So by reading many definitions of the language, you can understand what's going on through acquiring or learning language. We will start with the fifth definition, which is: a language is a system of arbitrary, not organized, vocal symbols which is used for a human communication. So it's related to human according to this definition. We have the sixth definition, which is: language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by means of which a social group cooperates. So it's linked to a social group cooperation. So both of these definitions point about the language as a system. According a system, sounds join to form words. The combination of the letters B, O, O, K joins to form a meaningful word, which is book. But the combination of K, O, O, B or O, O, B, K do not. So although we have arbitrary arrangement, but we have, when we want certain meaning, we have certain arrangement. Also, according to some system, words join to form sentences. For example, we have this sentence: a football is a game of wonderful entertainment. If we would like to make some kind of changes between the arrangement of the word to see is the meaning still the same, because when we say a football is a game of wonderful entertainment, this meaning is acceptable. But the string, the series of words, like if we make a new arrangement, a game is of a football wonderful entertainment, the same words we make change in the arrangement. Does the meaning still the same? No, it's not the same meaning. In this sense, language is considered a system of systems. Okay, so is a system of systems. Either when we arrange the sounds, after we arranging the sounds to get words, these words has certain arrangement to give certain meaning. Clear? The seventh definition of the language: language is undoubtedly a kind of means of communication among human beings. Language is undoubtedly، طبعا البي لا تلفظ، a kind of means، نوع من وسائل أو الأدوات of communication among human being، بين بني البشر. This is according to Derbyshire. So according to this definition, language is completely developed means of communication among humans. So it's related to human beings according to this definition, who can convey, okay, send and receive millions of messages across the world. Some more definitions The ninth definition of language. Language is a system of conventional, basic, spoken or written symbols by means of which human beings, as a member of social group and participants in its culture, communicate. This is according, or this definition is taken from Britannica. Britannica is an encyclopedia, authorized encyclopedia. You can use it if you want to take some authorized definitions or piece of information. موسوعة بريتانيكا هي موسوعة موثوقة. Languages are principal systems, basic system of communication used by particular groups of human beings within the particular society, which is called linguistic community, of which they are members. It means this is a system of communication according to certain system. The 10th definition, the systematic conventional use of sounds, signs, or written symbol in a human society for communication and self-expression. This is another definition of language. It's the systematic conventional use of sounds and the use of signs and the use of written symbols in a human or certain human society in order or for the purpose of communication and for the purpose of self-expression. The 11th definition, the term language can be used to refer to a variety, to many concepts and to many things, such as the particular form of words and speech which is used by people of a country, or of an area, or of a social group, or a method of a human communication which is used, a certain communication by using spoken or written word. This is from this website. This is the source. By the way, we have a certain way to reference your source of information. I think we are following IPA, the 7th edition now. By the way, you have another way to document your information. For example, you have MLA, you have the Chinese library, the Congress library, and you have many styles. Nowadays, every university has its own authorized way of documentation. So in our university, which is Al-Zaytuna University, we are following the IPA, okay, or APA. The 12th definition of language is a further meaning, or we have a further meaning of language, which is a style of types of words which is used by a person or a group, which is a topic generally studied within a sociolinguistics. What's the meaning of sociolinguistics? Sociolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and society. So this definition depends on the sociolinguistic type or sociolinguistic point. We have the 13th definition. Language is generally the human capacity of acquiring and using complex systems of communication. So here we are concentrating on acquiring language and using it, not only to acquire it but to use it. Okay, so for acquiring and using complex system of communication, and a language is any specific example of such a system. So according to this definition, language is a way of specific communication system. The 14th definition, language is succinctly It means briefly defined in our glossary as a human system of communication that uses arbitrary signals such as voice sounds, gestures الإيماءات, or written symbols. Now it's obviously evident that all the 14th definition التعريفات ال14 mentioned above المذكورة أعلاه, that it is not possible to have a single comprehensive and satisfactory definition of language that shows all its characteristics. In other way, we do not have a comprehensive definition, so you need to read a lot of definitions in order to know the nature of the language. So there is no complete definition for a language. On the basis of the aforementioned definitions, aforementioned بمعنى المذكورة آنفا، تمام، المذكور أعلاه. On the basis of the aforementioned definitions, it would be better من الأفضل to list and discuss briefly the various characteristics of language that distinguish the human language from the animal communication, because some linguists consider the animal communication as a kind of language. So in order to characterize or to understand the language, you should focus on certain characteristics of the language. Okay, for example, what is the difference between human language and animal communication? Since language is form or is mode of human communication, most linguists would undoubtedly agree that although many animals are able to communicate, they do not actually have language. They do not consider it language in the sense that humans do. Okay, it's kind of communication, but it's not like the human language. For example, birds may sing, cats may mew and may purr, ducks may bark and growl, apes might grunt, scream, even chatter, but they are not assumed to be using these sounds in a way humans do. Language is therefore a major attribute distinguishing a human from the rest of animal kingdom. So, a human language differs from animal communication in the following 13 design characteristic the characteristics of features. So we have 13 characteristics for language which distinguish the human being language from animal communication. What are these elements, or what are these characteristics? Who can read the first one? I need somebody to read the first one. Okay, the interchangeability. Yeah, you can.
Interchangeability refers to all members of the species that can be
refers. Yes. Can you repeat, please? Interchangeability.
Yes. Refers all members of the species that can send and receive messages.
Messages. Okay. So it means receives and send. This is what we can call interchanging. Okay. Number 2. Anybody else?
Feedback refers to the users of the system who are aware.
خلينا نصلح الفاول بكلمة refer. Refer.
Yep.
Not refer.
Refer.
Yeah, refers now. Yeah. Okay.
Refers to the users of the system who are aware of what they are.
Aware. Yeah,
aware of what they are transmitting.
Transferring. Okay. So the feedback, what's the meaning of feedback? It means to get information from the source, or you make something, you get information, you get notes, you can notice, be aware of what you have produced. Okay, so feedback refers to the user system who are aware of what they are transmitting. ينقلون. Okay, number 3.
Specialization refers to communicative system that refers. Yes,
you are right.
refers to the communicative system that serves no other function but to communicate.
Okay, so the specialization of language, this function of language is to communicate. Okay, the function of the language is to communicate. This is one of the characteristics.
Yes.
Semanticity.
Semanticity refers to the system that conveys meaning through a set of fixed relationships among signifiers, reference and meaning.
Okay, signifiers, reference and meaning. This is the semanticity. Semanticity, it means to have a meaning to the speech, to have a meaning to communication. This is what we call semantics. Okay, علم النحو.
Yeah.
Arbitrariness.
Arbitrariness means that there is no natural or inherent connection relationship between a token and its referent.
Okay, so we don't have something inherited. Okay, we have something acquired for the meaning of a language, or we have certain sounds has a referent. This referent, it's not inherited, it's acquired. Okay,
Yes.
Discreteness.
Discreteness refers to the communication system that consists of isolatable, repeatable units.
So discreteness, التماسك, okay, refers to communication system that consists of isolatable. It means something can be separated, or repeatable units. We have some units of speech or communication can be repeated. Okay, another person.
Yes.
I need another guy to read. Displacement.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Displacement refers to the users of systems that are able to refer to events remote in space and time.
Okay. Okay, let me explain this. So the displacement, this feature of language, refer to the user system that are able to refer to events or remote in space and time. So sometimes you can name or mention or refer to the meaning of certain words according to the regardless the time and the place, and sometimes we can change the meaning of a certain words according to the time and the place. Okay, you know, for example, in the past we have certain tools, some of them has the same meaning and some of them has different meaning. Okay, this is the displacement, the changing. Okay, productivity.
Productivity refers to the new messages on any topic that can be produced at any time.
Excellent. So this is the productivity. It means to produce. Okay, refers to the new messages on any topic that can be produced at any time. So at any time you can pronounce, you can say words, sentences, and you can even invent, make new words. And nowadays, for example, you have new inventions, okay? You have new items. You can produce, you can name them, you can create a name for them, okay? This is the productivity. Number 9.
Tradition, cultural transmission refers to the certain
the tradition and cultural transmission.
Transmission.
So,
yes.
you can complete the definition in order to explain it.
Yes. Transmission refers to the certain aspects of the system that must be transmitted from an experienced user to a learner.
When we say one of the features of a language, that it makes the role of tradition and cultural transmission. In other way, you can transmit, you can tell, you can make other people know about the culture and tradition through language. So if you are reading, for example, English language, English novel, this language about the English novel, it transmits you the English or European cultures, the English or the European traditions, and vice versa. If you are reading an Arabic novel, this novel in Arabic transmits the tradition, the Arabic tradition, the Arabic culture through language. So this is one of the features of language. Number 10, another person.
Yes, I can read.
Yes, you can.
Duality of patterning refers to the meaningless units, phonemes that are combined to form arbitrary things.
signs لا تلفظي
sign can be recombined to form new, larger, meaningful units.
Okay. The duality. What's the meaning of? Yes. For example, the letters. You can continue. S, P, O, T, A, and tops.
T, A, tops, pots.
Okay. So we have the letters S, P, O, and T, A. Okay. Or S, P, O, T. S, P, O, T. We can make, for example, tops and pots. Okay. So
if we yes. Okay.
Duality, dual, it means two, dia. Okay. It means double, many. Okay. Makes or making two, dual. Dual patterning, it means we have the same letters. We can make duality. Okay. Many words. Dual
exchange
words.
the letters to
you can
to make a new word.
You are right. You can change the arrangement of the words. You can the letters by changing the arrangement of the letters. You can make many, at least dual meaning. Okay.
Okay.
This is another feature of the language. The 11th feature.
Prevarication, avoidance refers to the system that enables users to talk nonsense or to lie.
Okay. Sometimes if you want to avoid something, okay, the same words, the same sentence has another meaning. Okay. You can, for example, avoid answering certain question or avoiding giving certain meaning through use of language, or language enables you to refers or to avoid making certain impression, certain meaning by using the same words or maybe in different arrangement. So prevarication, which means avoidance, refers to the system that enables users to talk nonsense, كلام لا معنى له, or to lie, حتى انه بامكانهم يكذبوا.
يحكي كلام منه صادق.
نعم، او كلام لا معنى له احيانا، او بامكانه، وان كان انت عم تسالني بحسن بعطيك معنى غير المعنى اللي عم تعطيني اللي بدك اجاوبك عليه وبنفس الكلمات. اوكي.
Learnability refers to the user of the system that can learn other variants. Humans can learn different languages. These are limited to their genetically specified
dialect.
genetically
yes, gene من الجينات يعني.
specified dialect.
So human beings can learn another language. For example, if you are born Arabic, okay, you have the feature in your language which is learnability, ability to learn. But the bees, they cannot learn the language of another animal, okay, because it's genetic from their genes. Okay.
يعني شيء بالجينات موجود، ما في
بالنسبة
إنه يتعلم أو يطور.
This is for animal communication, but for a human being it's learnable.
قادر على التعلم، قابل للتعلم.
Yeah, a human being can learn another language, okay, other than his mother tongue. بحسن بتتعلم غير لغة الأم. ولكن الحيوانات ما بتحسن فرضنا تعلمي القطة لغة الحيوانات الأخرى. طبعا ما عدا في عنا استثناء الببغاء. الببغاء بيحكي بس ما هو واعي لأنه إيش عم يحكي. تمام، هو عم بقلد تقليد، عم بحفظ. تمام،
just repeatedly. يعني بس تكرار.
نعم، فقط يكرر. اوكي.
13
reflexiveness الانعكاسية. نعم.
Reflexiveness refers to the ability to use the communication system to discuss the system itself.
Okay.
A comparison of animal communication systems with the human language.
Okay. What's the meaning of reflexiveness? When you are using the language for the purpose of discussing the language. يعني نستخدم اللغة لمناقشة أمور اللغة بذاتها. تمام، هاي اسمه reflexiveness. هاي أحد خاصية اللغة. Now, we have a comparison of animal communication system with the human language. The comparison of animal communication system with the human language is briefly demonstrated in the following table. إذا موضحة في الجدول الأدنى. Comparison of any animal communication system with the human language. For example, the feature here, this table or this column, sorry, هذا العمود for features. For example, the bees, we have the feature under it. عندنا خصائص تحتها. Birds, الخصائص تبع communication تحتها. Non-human primates, and we have the humans. For example, the interchangeability, the semanticity, arbitrariness, discreteness, displacement, productivity, tradition, culture, transmission, and the other, and they are making, for example, yes or no under each species. تحت كل صنف إحيائي. Okay, let's go to communication and language. Communication refers to passing on or exchanging information, whereas language distinguish what is living from and what is not living in nature. This is according to O. Gray. This is the definition by O. Gray. A human communication and a human language. Human communication occurs when one person acts with the intention of influencing the mind of another. So again, human communication occurs when one person acts or behave with the intention, with the purpose of influencing the mind of another. قال شو معناتها بتتحاور مع إنسان؟ إنه عم تحكي بهدف إنه إقناع التأثير على دماغ إنسان آخر. For instance, على سبيل المثال, by getting him or her entertain some idea, بجعلك أو بجعله أو بجعلها يستمتع ببعض الأفكار. And when that other person recognize that the first person intention to influence his or her mind. وقت الشخص الثاني بيوعى إنه هذا الإنسان عم بحاول يأثر عليه بهذا الأمر أو بهالمعنى, we can call it a human communication. Clearly, it's possible to influence another person's mind unintentionally, يعني بدون وعي أو بدون قصد. For example, if I unintentionally sneeze, إذا أنا عطست بشكل عفوي, I might prompt you to think that I might have a cold. أنا أقنعتك إنه أنا عندي رشح. إذن هذا غير مقصود. العطاس قد يكون إنه أعطيتك فكرة إنه أنا مرشح، فهذا communication لأنه أقنعتك. However, this is a rather different kind of event that one in which I intentionally sneeze. هذا غير عالشيء اللي أنا قصدي إنه قصدا أعطس, and you recognize that you may sneeze or that my sneeze was intentionally. From my first unintentional sneeze, you cannot infer or deduct that I am trying to get you think I have a cold. From my second intentional sneeze, you can infer that I am trying to get you think of something or another, perhaps that I have a cold. Okay, we have something intentional and something unintentional. Imagine that we have gone to a party together, okay, and that we want to coordinate our leaving. So before we get to the party, I say to you, I will pretend to sneeze when I am ready to go home. Okay, so me and you agreed. If I sneezed intentionally, if I sneezed, it means a sign to go back home. Okay, and you agree to interrupt my sneezing in this way. Interpret بما تفسر. When I sneeze at the party, you can infer or deduct that I sneeze intentionally, and interpret my sneezing تفسر عطاسي as indication of my desire to leave. Okay, this is another example of intentional message or intentional communication and unintentional communication. For this communication to succeed, two elements must be in place. So first, the assumption that I intended to influence you in some way, and the second, our agreement about the meaning of my intentional sneeze. So in another word, when we can make the language communication, when we know the meaning of certain language, certain signs, certain for example words, I and you agree that this word has the same meaning. So there is nothing in the nature of sneezing that requires it to mean let's go home. So naturally, sneezing doesn't mean go home, but me and you, I and you, agree that when I sneeze, this means between me and you going home. Now sneezing in this way has communication because it has an agreement between me and you. We could have agreed that it was to mean it is safe to sleep. Let's go on. We have agreed that it was to mean it's safe to sleep upstairs and to steal the host jewelry. Maybe me and you, for example, agreed about the sneezing between thieves, for example. If I sneezed, it's referenced that now it is the time to go upstairs and rob or steal the jewelry of the house owner. Okay, so by sneezing in this way we agreed on another meaning, so it has different communication. Okay, and it has a communication. By specifying the meaning for sneezing, we have created a little code. This is a code, which is a sort of minute or tiny or minuscule language. For the human language, fortunately, we cannot reach each other's minds. So, if you want to allow someone to access to what we are thinking, we must provide them with clues. رؤوس أقلام. clue هي طبعا ترجمتها مخلة بس لكم بمعنى رؤوس أقلام. Slight indication, okay, that they can perceive, they can understand. So language is a system that connects thoughts, link thoughts with what? Which cannot be heard or seen or touched, with sounds, okay, or with letters, or with a meaning or a manual signs, or a tactile or perceptual or perceptile symbols. We have a Braille, for example. You know Braille, the system for the blind. Braille, it's kind of writing for the blind people. A Braille, yeah, is a system of printed raised dots, نقاط نافرة, that presents letters, numbers for the blinds or the sightless, ضعيفي البصر people. Okay, in this way, one person private ideas may be communicated to another person. So when was that? If me and you know the meaning of these private ideas. For example, most of the friends, they have some what we can call codes between them. For example, all of us, we know that person who sent his friends to see his exam results, and he said to them the code: if I dropped one subject, you can say to me, Muhammad, say hello to you. And if I dropped two subjects, say Muhammad and Mahmoud say hello to you. And when he came back, that person, he said that all your friends say hello to you. It means you dropped all the subject. So this is a code. Have you got the joke? So this is what we can call sharing your private ideas with other, in order to make code, in order to make it kind of communication, in order to make it as a kind of meeting. By the way, we have less than minutes to end the session. If the session is finished, please join after 5 minutes. Okay, guys? Okay. In this way, one person's private idea may be communicated to another person. For example, imagine that I want to communicate to you my idea that my study needs to be tidied up. You cannot see or hear or touch or taste or otherwise perceive that idea. It locked away in my mind. To communicate it to you, I have to cast it in a form that you can perceive typically in spoken or visual or tactile form that is systematically connected to the idea. For example, the sentence, my study needs to be tidied up. Without this perceivable expression, you cannot know that I have the idea to communicate. Without the systematic connection between idea and the form of expression, you cannot know which idea I want to communicate. So, language is a code that systematically connects private thoughts with public expression. See you after the break, after 5 minutes. Goodbye. Hello again. So we were talking about the code or coding any signals to make a communication. As we said, in this way, if one person has a private idea and this idea may be communicated to another person. Okay, for example, imagine that I want to communicate to you my idea that my study needs to be tidied up, and you cannot see, hear, touch or taste or otherwise perceive that idea. It is plucked away in my mind because it's still the meaning in my mind. I haven't shared it with it, or I haven't shared it with you anymore. But to communicate it to you, I have to cast or to share it in a form that you can perceive, you can understand, typically in spoken, visual or tactile form that is systematically connected to the idea. For example, the sentence, my study needs to be tidied up. Without this perceivable expression, you cannot know that I have an idea to communicate. Without the systematic connection between the idea and the form of expression, you cannot know which idea I want to communicate. So, language is a code that systematically connects private thoughts with public expression. So we have standard language and standard language and standard English and standard Arabic. This is a kind of comparison. Standard language in general. For example, we have standard English and colloquial English, standard Arabic and colloquial Arabic. Standard language is the language variety used by a group of people in their public discourse. It's the variety of a language that is considered by the speakers to be most appropriate in formal and educational contexts. So, it is the most appropriate form of a language in the educational and formal usage, or in the formal and educational context. Characteristically, the varieties it means the different forms، الأشكال المختلفة أو الاختلافات أو التغيرات that become standardized, making it standard, are local dialects spoken in the centers of commerce and government, where a need arises for a variety that will serve more than local needs. For example, between the people in the same trade, in the same field, we have what we call lingo, or some kind of language. For example, between mechanics, between mechanics, they use certain language to refer to the engine, to repairing tools. We in everyday English, we do not know these terms, these tools. We call it lingo. But Even it is colloquial, it may be standardized. And even between what we can call businessmen, we have what is called nowadays commercial correspondence, مراسلات التجارية. This kind of language, it may be colloquial, but it is standardized, made as a standard, okay, in that field. Have you got the idea? Okay. We have standard English, which is referred to as SE, standard English, which is a variety of English. أحد أشكال اللغة الإنجليزية، أحد تغيرات اللغة الإنجليزية. Generally expected in formal communication. Where can we find standard English? In formal communication, in various disciplines. Standard English is English which is acquired through education. Indeed, the acquisition of standard English is a large part of what we understand as education in English-speaking world. The spoken standard has come to be seen as a mark of good education and social prestige. It is a variety used in writing and most formal speech. Standard Arabic يعني العربية الفصحى comprises many varieties, many mutually intelligible, that are considered a single language, because standardized Arabic register, literary Arabic or modern standard Arabic, is generally intelligible or comprehensible or understandable to literal speakers who learned literary Arabic, or modern standard Arabic that is based upon specific classical Arabic and the language of the Holy Quran. So the literary Arabic or modern standard Arabic, which is referred to as MSA, is for example, what we can call standard Arabic, Al-Arabiyya Al-Fusha or Al-Fusha, is the most Arabic language, or the which is known as the standard Arabic, or the standardized variety of Arabic used in writing and in most formal speech. Here they are differentiating between the modern standard Arabic and the literary Arabic. The literary Arabic, it means the Arabic that is used in literary fields. Sometimes, for example, if you are studying, for example, law. In law you have certain terms, even it sounds Arabic, but it has a meaning specified to that field and in standard Arabic. Now we go to the structure of language. When described as a system, it means Arabic, or a language in general, when described as a system of symbolic communication, language is conventionally seen as consisting of three parts. What are the three parts of language? Signs, الإشارات, meanings, المعاني, and code. Code, this is the agreement on the meaning between me and you. This is a code which connecting signs with the meaning. So we have signs, meaning, code. These codes connect the meaning to the sound, to the signs. Okay? For example, me and you. I will agree with you or inform you that if you have, for example, the letters S-O-E between me and you, it has certain meaning. This is relating those letters to that meaning. We call it coding. What do we call it? Coding. So those are the three parts of a language. Suppose in the exam you are asked to say what are the three elements of a language, or the three parts. What are they? Number 1, signs. Number 2,
meanings.
Number 3,
code.
Yes, the coding, التكويد. تمام.
coding.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the function of coding? It's connecting signs with their meaning. شو خاصية أو وظيفة الكودينج التكويد؟
يعني هي بتحمل رمز أو معنى بين طرفين أو أكثر.
مثال.
يعني هي
بالعربي راح أحكيها.
علامة بين.
تمام. مثلا
يعني اتفق. علامة بين اثنين مثلا أو أكثر. رمز.
ممتاز.
يعني ربما يتكون من أحرف، ربما يتكون من أرقام.
ممتاز.
أنا النت عندي ضعيف.
Okay, don't worry. For example, our grandfathers agree or coding the word kitab, kaf, ta, alif, ba for the group of papers. اتفقوا انه على الأحرف ترمز إلى المعنى كذا. فهذا الاتفاق على كلمة كتاب انه يعني مجموعة الأوراق، هذا اسمه كودينج. قد أنا أشير مثل ما حكت زميلتكم، أنا بحسن بقول الفرع 117. طبعا هو غير موجود. إذا اخترعت فرع وسميته 117 ورمزت له أنه للمرور، فوقت بقول لك الفرع 117 it refers to the meaning of a traffic agency or traffic administration، إدارة المرور. فهذا التكويد للرقم إعطاء هذا المعنى اسمه كودينج. signs العلامات هي الأرقام، والمعنى هو المعنى اللي أنا أعطيته إياه، والاتفاق بيني وبينك إنه بيني وبينك هذا الرقم بشير لهذا الفرع. هذا شو مسميه؟ كودينج. شو مسميه يا جماعة؟ كودينج. نعم. How signs and meanings are combined. كيف تم أو كيف بيتم مقارنة الساينز العلامات اللي بتكون إما أحرف أو إشارات أو إشارة جسد مع المعنى. طيب، قال المعنى اللي بيكون are combined يتم مرافقته مع signs or used أو يتم استخدامه and interpreted أو يتم تفسيره is called semiotics. شو مسميه؟ semiotics. هي عملية التكويد تبعت الإشارة، أو هي الإشارة اللي عم نعطيها معنى، عملية التكويد بنسميه semiotic. Signs can be composed of sounds. إذن signs وقت قلنا الإشارة قد تكون letters أحرف، numbers، sounds، gestures إيماءات، symbols رموز. This is depending on whether the language is spoken, signs or written. هذا بيعتمد هل اللغة محكية ولا لغة إشارة أو لغة ترميز أو مكتوبة. And they can be combined into complex signs. إذن بإمكاننا نربط المعنى لإشارات معقدة. تمام. Such as words and phrases. We can make signs, combine the meaning not only to words or signs, maybe a group of signs to make sentences, maybe more than sentences. We have paragraph, maybe essays, give them meaning or coding them. Okay, a sign is encoded and transmitted by a sender who is the speaker through a channel to a receiver, the person who listens, the listener, who decodes it, understand that code or that sign, because we have a coding which links that letters, that group of words to the meaning which is in his mind. So when we match that sounds or signs with the meaning that we agreed before, this is, we call it encoding. So when the listener listen to a speak or words and he try to perceive the meaning, we call it decoding. He is decoding. Okay, so because he is trying to find the meaning between the signs and the meaning that he has decoded before. We call it decoding or encoding. When it is used in communication, this is the speaking and the receiving used in communication. This is diagrammatically illustrated in the following model of communication, where I, in figure number I, which we will see here, where it is. Okay, I, let me see it here. Okay, so I, it means in number one, first the channel refers to the message. The channel here refer to the message. Okay, this is number one, that are primarily transmitted via a vocal auditory channel. Okay, the vocal auditory channel. And we have number two, the linearity, flexibility, or transmission, which refers to the message that is extended temporally, which is speech, and locally as a string or maybe writing, and it's produced and analyzed as a sequence. Number three, the redundancy, which refers to the same information given several times. And number four, we have the feedback, which refers to the user of a system who are aware of what they are transmitting. So number one, we have the message, which is in the middle. We have the sender, okay, sending, and we have the receiver, okay, who is the listener, and we have what's called feedback in order for the speaker to be aware of what has just been said. So the study of language is called linguistics. What do we call the study of language? Linguistics. Yeah, linguistics means the science which is concerned with studying language. هو العلم المعني بدراسة اللغة. هذا مسميه linguistics. شو مسميه؟ linguistics. So the definition, linguistics is the study of language. Is the study of language, which has been developed into a science since the first grammatical descriptions of a particular languages. In India, more than 2,000 years ago, this into science. Okay. For example, this definition used in India more than 2,000 years ago. Today, linguistics, علم اللغة, is a science, هو العلم, that concerns itself with all aspects of language. المعني بكل عوامل اللغة, examining it وفحصها from all of its theoretical general point of view described above. من كافة, from all of the theoretical or general points of view, من كافة وجهات نظر, من كافة الاتجاهات النظرية والعامة المذكورة أعلى. Now we have the question, why do people study language? ليش ندرس لغة? Can you guess? Let's discuss this point. For example, why do people study language? Who can answer me? In general answer from your own experience.
To know other cultural of other people.
Excellent. Another idea? Why do people study language?
To know about a new people can also.
Okay, to meet new people. Okay, or to know something about new people. What else?
Communication.
To communicate with people. Good.
Maybe to start another of another people.
To? Again, could you please repeat?
To study another subject.
Maybe to study
of another people.
Yeah. For you, for example, in your language, when you learn language, you can understand more. You can express yourself more. You can't. Yeah, you can teach people. You can teach people
in the motherland.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can teach and learn. You can understand the mechanism of acquiring or learning language. Am I right?
Okay.
So, in our brain, we have a mechanism of acquiring or learning language. When you know the nature of the language, you know the process that goes in our mind. And in this way, for example, some people, when they face an accident, a car accident, for example, they have some physical problems. You know in this way that we have certain parts of the brain, for example, is responsible for certain functions. So by knowing these, you can, for example, if you want to improve your English or to solve a problem for a person, you can focus on that area. Okay? Or you can check that area at least to know what is the problem with it. Am I right? Okay. So why do people study language? This is because when people study human language, they are approaching what some might call human essence, جوهر الإنسان, the distinctive quality of mind, الخصائص المميزة للدماغ, that are, so far they know, unique to man, والتي هي فريدة للجنس البشري, man, الإنسان. نوم تشومسكي، طبعا نوم تشومسكي هو العالم اللغويات رقم 1 بالعالم إلى الآن لسه عايش موجود يعني. تشومسكي Language and Mind بكتابه اللغة والعقل, also as for example, also a native speaker of a language, people have acquired and have been influenced by the system of their language unconsciously and instinctively. إذا الإنسان أقول native speakers للغة ما أو بالنسبة للإنسان والتعلم لغة الأم بيكون عم بتعلمها بشكل لا شعوري, unintentionally or subconsciously or unconsciously. هاي بالنسبة لنوم تشومسكي. So the general study of language, الدراسة العامة للغة, بتقول the general study of language is divided into the following subsystem. انه الدراسة العامة للغة مقسمة الى عدة فروع فرعية او عدة انظمة فرعية. sub system. sub شو معنات sub؟ فرعي. So the general study of language is divided into the following subsystem. إذا دراسة اللغة مقسمة أو قسموها لدراسات فرعية. أول علم بدراسة اللغة سموه phonology, اللي بنعرفه شو باللغة العربية. Who can say phonology؟
علم الصوتيات. علم الصوتيات.
خلينا نقول تجويد. تمام.
تجويد.
The study of speech sounds of a given language and their function within a sound system of that language. هو دراسة الأصوات، أصوات الكلام للغة معطاة على سبيل المثال، وخواص هذه الأصوات ضمن نظام معين. For example, we have in Arabic al-idgham. We have the influence of one sound on another. For example, we have النون الساكنة when it is followed, for example, by one of the letters alif waw ya, we have what's called idgham naqas. So this is the function of the nun الساكنة or at-tanween followed by certain sounds. This relation or this function, which is al-idgham, we call it, or the study of this function, we call it phonology. We have morphology. What's the meaning of morphology? It's the study and the analysis of the structure. When you are analyzing or studying the structure of certain language, or the forms or the classes of the words, whether they are adjectives, gerunds, prepositions, whatever, we call it morphology. What do we call it? Morphology.
Morphology.
The structure of language. We have syntax. Syntax, the study of the agreement of words in a sentence and of the means by which such relations are shown. علم بناء تركيب الجملة. شو مسميه؟ syntax. شو مسميه؟ syntax. تمام؟ بنقول له علم النحو اللي بيعنى فقط بالشكل والعلاقات. تمام؟ طيب we have what's called semantics. علم المعاني. The study of the meaning in a language. Okay? Pragmatics. What's the meaning of pragmatics? It's the study of language in use. So, it's the study of how signs and symbols are used for communication in a particular language. So, the use of language, we call it pragmatic. The meaning of language, we call it semantic. The structure of the language, or studying the structure of the language, we call it syntax. The study of the relationship of or the forms, we call it morphology. Okay? The study of the sounds and the sound relation in a certain context, we call it phonology. So those are the subsystem of study of language, or the systems of studying language. Clear, guys? Is it clear?
It's clear.
Now we will concentrate on phonetics and phonology. Phonetics and phonology. Here we will only deal with the examining some aspects of sounds, some features of sounds in English, as well as Arabic, and their patterns, النماذج طبعا, phonetics and phonology. We call this phonetics and phonology. So, phonetics, in order to produce a human language sounds, we use various body parts. نستخدم عدة أجزاء من الجسم, including lips, tongue, teeth, pharynx, lungs. What do we call them? Who can tell me? We call them articulators. Articulators. أدوات النطق. Phonetics in this term for the description and classification of speech sounds, particularly how sounds are produced, transmitted, and received. So, phonetics in this term is used or is meant to describe and classify the speech sounds. And how do we use sounds, how to produce it, transmit it, and how to receive it, how to listen it well. Okay? In another word, phonetics is the study of the linguistic speech sounds, how they are pronounced how they are moved of the speech organs, which is the articulatory, and how they are perceived, listened, the hearing of speech sounds. When we listen, we call it the listening device, or the listening the listening articles, we call it the auditory device, جهاز السمعي, the auditory, and their physical aspects, والخصائص الفيزيائية للجهاز السمعي وحتى الجهاز النطقي. The frequency, the and amplitude in their transmission. إذن مدى التكرار، مدى التيمبو، الفريكونسي، تردد الأصوات، والامبليتيود وسعة الأصوات خلال النقل، وبنسميه هذا الأكوستيك السمعي. تمام؟ أكوستيك السمعي اللي يعنى بدراسة الأمواج الصوتية وطولها. تمام؟ شو بنسميه؟ الأكوستيك. We have what's called the vocal tract، جهاز النطق، the vocal tract or speech organs أو أدوات النطق، and the articulators كمان ترجمتها أدوات النطق in the vocal tract بجهاز النطق. طبعا هيك الكلمات أو المرادفات للارتيكوليترز، الأجهزة المستخدمة بالنطق. رح نبدأ من الأمام من الطرف الأيسر. We have the lips. تمام، رح أشر على الشفاه. We have the upper lip and the lower lip، الشفة السفلى والشفة العليا والشفة السفلى. We have the teeth، الأسنان، مفردة tooth، سن. We have the tip of the tongue، مقدمة اللسان. We have the blade of the tongue، نصل اللسان اللي هو بعد مقدمة اللسان. the blade of the tongue. أنا بقرأ من على اليسار يا جماعة، وبضيف بعض الإضافات البسيطة. أنتوا معي؟
اوكي.
تمام. في عنا في حافة بعد الأسنان من فوق بنسميها alveolar ridge، الحافة السنخية. شو بنسميها؟ الحافة السنخية. الفجوة نعم، فجوة الفم بنسميها oral cavity. شو بنسميها؟
oral cavity،
الفجوة الفمية. تمام. هلا راح نروح على اليمين. قال سقف الحنك، هذا الحنك بنسميه بالت. شو بنسميه؟ بالت، ما هو باليت، بالت. في عنا هارد بالت، هو الحنك القاسي، هذا سقف الحلق بنسميه بالت. تمام. طبعا تحته ذاكرين وحيطينا إشارة فرونت تانج أو فرونت اوف ذا تانج. طبعا مشان نحط لكم تصنيف آخر، قال التيب اوف ذا تانج، مقدمة اللسان، والبليد اوف ذا تانج، نصل اللسان، اثنيناتهم هدول الجزئين بيسموهم ببعض الكتب الجزء الأمامي من اللسان. طبعا على اليمين حيطينا front of the tongue، وعلى اليسار حيطينا the tip of the tongue والblade of the tongue. مشان أنا أوضح لكم، في بعض الكتب ما بتصنف التيب of the tongue عن البليد، بقول لك the front part of the tongue، القسم الأمامي من اللسان، مشان ما تخربطوا إذا عدى عليكم هيك مصطلح ببعض الكتب أو المراجع الأخرى. ف the front part of the tongue أحيانا تشير to the tip with the blade of the tongue. clear guys؟
أستاذ ممكن نقول إنه ظهر ممكن
بس قلتي
ظهر اللسان؟
لا
يعني front of
لا، بس قلنا ظهر اللسان the center of the tongue، وأحيانا بسموها the back of the tongue، مو the root، جذر اللسان اللي آخر اللسان من الداخل. الجذر بيسموه the root of the tongue. هون موجودة عندكم إذا بتلاحظوا جذر اللسان بالمنتصف root of the tongue. تمام. back of the tongue اللي هي فوقها هي ظهر اللسان. لاحظي back of the tongue. طبعا عنا اللهاء، اللهاء بسموها أحيانا فيليوم أو فيلم سوري فيلم هو جزء منه، ورأس اللهاء بسميه يوفيولا. تمام؟ كلها بنسميها سوفت بالت، كلها اليوفيولا والفيلم بنسميهم سوفت بالت، الحنك الطري اللي هو بمؤخرة اللسان، اللي وظيفته انه يطبق الفجوة الأنفية أو الفموية مشان يوجه الهواء. تمام؟ we have the nasal cavity. تمام؟ الفجوة الأنفية فوق، حيطينا فوق nasal cavity الفجوة الأنفية. تمام؟ في عنا إذا بننزل لتحت في عنا شيء اسمه الفارينكس البلعوم، الفارينكس البلعوم. تمام؟ في عنا إبيجلوتس، إبيجلوتس الحنجرة، مو الحنجرة عفوا، اللي هي كمان المري أو ببداية البلعوم. وفي عنا اللارينكس، اللارينكس هي الحنجرة اللي هي الصندوق تبع الحبال الصوتية. تمام؟ إذا بنروح على اليسار، تمام، في عنا الفوكال فولتس الحبال الصوتية، وفي عنا تيركيا أو ما تسمى باللغة العربية الترقوة. تمام؟ هي نفسها أجزاء الحنجرة أو ما تسمى آدمز أبل، تفاحة آدم. هلا رح نروح على الكتابة. طبعا رح أعطيكم لمدة دقيقتين مشان نعطي فصل المحاضرة اللي بعدنا، نعطيكم فرصة راحة مدة ربع ساعة. The vocal tract الجهاز الصوتي as shown above كما هو مظهر أعلاه. في داعي للترجمة يا طلاب؟ أنا بعتمد أنه أنتم طلاب سنة ثالثة وما في داعي للترجمة. في داعي للترجمة؟ إذا بتحسوا أنه في داعي للترجمة بنترجم، بس هذا الأمر راح يأكل من وقت.
لا ما في داعي.
تمام.
ما في مشكلة.
The vocal tract as shown in the above diagram is part of our body through which والذي من خلاله air passes during speech. The vocal tract runs from the lungs up through the trachea. إذن خلال الترقوة أو القصبة الهوائية بسموها wind pipe. Through the pharynx من خلال البلعوم أو الحلق اللي هو a space at the back of the mouth، الفجوة أو المساحة اللي بمؤخرة اللسان. And there it divides into the oral cavity, which is the space inside the mouth, and the nasal cavity, which it reaches outside word and the lips and the nostrils الفجوات الأنفية nostrils. As a general rule, during speech, air flows upwards and outwards through the vocal tract, though in certain less usual airstream mechanisms some difference happens. In the throat, the vocal tract passes through complex structure which is called larynx. Within the larynx is an opening called glottis, الفتحة المزمارية, which can be opened wide to allow the air to pass freely, or maybe it is closed tightly to block the airflow, or close it loosely. In the last case, two hands of tissues called the vocal folds, between which the glottis is located, undergoes vibration, and this produces voicing. So he is explaining the mechanism of speech. عم بيشرح آلية الصوت. We have رح أشرح لكم بطريقتي. We have the lungs رئتين pushes the airstream. This airstream goes through an opening خلال فتحة. On the side of this opening we have the vocal folds الحبال الصوتية أو الطيات الصوتية. Sometimes those vocal folds are apart مبتعدات to allow the air go through them freely. تسمح للهواء يمر بخلالهم بحرية. Or maybe they are tight or close to each other. And by closing them to each other we have some kind of vibration. رح يصدر عنا أثناء التضيق نوع من الاهتزاز. هذا الاهتزاز بنسميه voicing اللي بينتج عنه الأصوات. See you tomorrow inshallah. This is everything for today. If you have any question, don't hesitate and ask me, whether privately or on the chat room on WhatsApp. See you tomorrow inshallah. Goodbye.